Basically, when it launched, kind of like a number of other Unreal Engine 5 titles targeting an open world scenario, this had a number of issues, both on the console and the PC side. On the console side, both GPU and CPU performance seemed to be struggling. So you had a performance mode there, for example, on the Xbox Series X, and it wouldn't be hitting 60 nearly enough for it to actually be really classified as a great 60 FPS experience all throughout the game. It would spend a lot of its time in like a good enough kind of VRR no man's land, but that is not exactly what you want to see for a 60 FPS mode. On PC, I tested the game on a high end and low end, and especially on the low end CPU, you'd really notice really big issues. Like you just run down a road at either high or epic settings, and you could see periodic stutters, CPU limited below 60 FPS constantly. And then you'd hit like the first main Stalker hangout town, and it would just plummet with huge stutters everywhere and easily be sub 30 FPS. That on top of a variety of bugs, issues with the A-Life system that they've now improved on, and it was just really rough beginning for a game that had a lot of heart and soul, and it actually was fun to play, but it was just like not so good. So scroll ahead now, and I just loaded up the game on the Ryzen 5 3600 paired with an RTX 4070 Super, targeting the high settings like I did at launch, and I was playing at 4K ultra performance mode, their DLSS, just to make the game completely CPU limited, and running down the same road like I did on launch. It's more or less lined up here. It's a little bit hard because all of the anomalies in the road you have to worry about, but it's on average, the performance improvement is pretty great. It's 26% CPU limited better performance on this Ryzen 5 3600. And if you look at the frame time graph, it is much steadier while having that average FPS uplift. And when I hit the Stalker town, you can see that it is way, way better. It's still not great, I would say, but it's a lot better on these high settings. So that's awesome to see. So they did at least spend the last year heavily improving the game's CPU limited performance. And based upon what I know from my conversations with them at Gamescom, they are also targeting for later this year, it may have slipped into next, but a UE 5.54 or later upgrade, which should further improve performance and also offer the ability for them to add in features, graphical features to the game that they really couldn't do before because they were on a pretty old engine base, actually.
Yeah, wasn't it 5.1? I think it might be
basically
5.1
it was.
Still. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, you don't get the stuff like nanite vegetation. So you have really expensive VSM performance as a result. There's a lot of things. Unreal just in general got way more efficient over time. And obviously they've made their own efficiencies in there. They've branched heavily from base Unreal 5 just to get the game out. But bringing them back together with like RHI improvements that you see with 554 and above should hopefully help the game further. But right now we're seeing the standing of the game as it is before that upgrade.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive because like looking at this footage you've supplied, I mean, yes, it is 26% faster, but it's also like the stutters are, I mean, that's just incredible to see the difference in the stuttering behavior. It's like the current version is pretty steady in terms of frame times, just a little bit of stuttering there, and it's quite good on the new version. So I'm quite satisfied with that. But yeah, I mean, obviously the performance was not very good on consoles like Alex laid out. It was like often 40 to 50 FPS, kind of unsatisfying there in terms of performance, whereas we usually expect current generation games to be pretty stable at 60 FPS. Like, I don't want to say it's a universal rule, but certainly that is what we've observed across the vast majority of current generation software, including UE5 software. Recent UE5 titles have typically held to that standard, minus some traversal hitches and things like that in games like Silent Hill, obviously, but generally they're fairly good. But yeah, now it's basically 60 FPS here on the Xbox Series X in performance mode, except for certain parts of the game's town area, where if you're sprinting through them, it can kind of drop into the upper 50s. So it's actually a pretty good performer. It's like 60 FPS 99 at least percent of the time here. In other areas of the game outside of that kind of town area that we're using for stress testing here with streaming, it actually behaves at a consistent 60 FPS. So that's an enormous improvement from where it was at launch. I would say it's a huge improvement. Also, the quality mode, which does target 30 FPS, Before that mode still had some frame time wobbles in the mix, including this very, very lengthy stutter, which was a very unfortunate characteristic of the launch code. That basically runs out a locked 30 FPS on Series X, and actually, as an aside, a locked 30 FPS on Series S as well, which I also briefly tested. So those modes are now totally flat, totally locked, basically. Even though you do have a little bit of deviation in that performance mode, you should basically expect a totally flat, locked frame time experience in the quality modes across those consoles. I also tested patch 1.6, which was the patch right before this. So basically when I was testing this game, they updated it several times. And I was testing on Series X. I was testing on patch 1.6, which was the patch prior to this. And in patch 1.7, the performance is hugely improved. So 1.6 even did not have most of these performance improvements in it. It was like in that 40 to 50 FPS range pretty often. I don't have direct footage of this, but that's basically how it ran. So they've clearly made a lot of changes in 1.7 to get the game running in good shape here. And I noticed on their website, initially, like the abstract of their patch notes they published across various platforms didn't include any information on performance optimizations. But if you go into their website and you look through their detailed patch notes, there are like, I don't know, 10 entries here with the word optimized in front of them, or like 15 entries. It's like optimized foliage meshes, optimized foliage materials, optimized buildings, optimized world streaming optimization, optimized lighting, optimized skeletal meshes, all these different things. So clearly, despite not running on 5.54, I don't think, there are clearly a lot of changes here that have gone into this update to make it more performant, presumably on PC and consoles.